It might just be placebo effect because I know that it's supposed to be different. Does feel responsive though. Hello and welcome to another NihongoGamer video. As you know, I'm a big fan of arcade sticks on this channel, and today I've got a very exciting new product which has just come in called the Razer Panthera EVO. Purchased this myself. This is a $200 stick, so actually the retail is the same price, ouch, as a stick that they had that I already purchased earlier this year called the Razer Panthera. For the same price, they've actually lowered the price of the old one, the Razer Panthera, to like $170, and the new one comes out at the same retail price that the original one did, which is about $200. So the question is, what is actually the big difference between this Razer Panthera EVO and the Razer Panthera that I already unboxed earlier this year? Now, if you remember, actually the name of the video where I unboxed the Razer Panthera was, well, actually, what was it? It was something like everything right about this stick except for one thing. And the one thing I wasn't a big fan of is this, the cable jutting out at a right angle from the stick, because if you bump this into your desk, you risk damaging the cable on the stick. One of the coolest things about the other stick was that you could open it up and have easy access to switching out the buttons, easy access to changing out the stick. In fact, the original one came with like a bat top as well, so you could put a bat top instead of a ball stick here. You could also remove the cable. But something that I think Razer discovered from user feedback is that I think they had a lot of complaints about the fact that it was bothersome to remove this cable. And so instead of making a removable cable with a better shape up here, they just said, there is no removable cable. It's just this hardwired cable that actually winds into the stick. On the old Razer Panthera, if you wanted to change the artwork, you would have to get like a hairdryer, heat up the stick to remove the plastic so that you put a new piece of art underneath with like a custom piece of glass or plexiglass. This time they've actually built it directly into the stick. This actually may well be one of the best balanced products on paper. I mean, I haven't opened it. I think they've made it a little bit wider coming towards you so you have more space to rest your arm when you're playing the thing. It seems a lot more slimline than before. Anyway, let's go ahead and unbox this before I go crazy just thinking about it. Let's go ahead, pull this open. Oh, here it is, the Razer Panthera EVO. Wah! There's nothing to see! Some information about the stick, some instructions on how to use it, that actually might be useful, some branding stickers. They've got the green logo instead of the blue logo. It couldn't have hurt them to just print out some blue logo stickers for this? Well, whatever. For some reason, arcade sticks always end up on my actual head. Let's just get rid of that. Oh, can you see how slim this is? Let's pull the plastic off. I can feel the excitement grow. That is so sick. Okay, first of all, it has a really nice light feel. It's not like a super hardcore piece of metal box. This is like a consumer product, a stick that just does what you expect and need a stick to do. My thing about the original Razer Panthera was that it just felt like it was designed for people who love arcade sticks, but it hadn't actually thought through the practicalities of actually bringing it to places and using it. But this one, probably you can see it right away. The cable doesn't jut out the back here. There's a little window. Oh, what the? Doesn't stay open, that's annoying. Okay, I realize they've done that on purpose to be convenient. It's not what I was expecting. So you open up this cable box here. You wind the cable out to the side, lock it in place, and then you close this. That is hilarious. That doesn't work at all. I've wound the cable out to the side, and then this doesn't actually close all the way. Hang on. Okay, it does close. All right, this is not the most genius design, but check this out. Because it doesn't actually close completely like so, you just force it and then it closes. It's the whole Apollo 13 fitting a square peg into a circular hole thing all over again. But the end result when you're finished is this beautiful, it looks like it was designed to just come straight out, but it is actually openable and retractable, and you can put it away like so. That is wonderful. I'm just loving the whole feel of it and the size of it. It just looks like it's a super balanced stick. Let's move the stick. Okay, so this is technically a standard Sanwa arcade stick. Okay, so this has come loose, and the only way to tighten this in place is to use the special hole here on the bottom. There's a little plug here. You need to hold that in place with a screwdriver so that this can actually be screwed on properly. So I know that there are jokers at Razer for sure. Do not insert foreign objects into the hole. Really, Razer? But at the same time, bonus points for just being hilarious. Anyway, now apparently these buttons are specially designed by Razer. These are not Sanwa electrical buttons. They are buttons made by Razer with mechanical keyboard, like mechanical switches that you'd find in a gaming keyboard underneath here. And apparently they'll last longer than Sanwa parts and actually bounce back up faster than Sanwa parts. So you should be able to, I don't know, perform faster or whatever. As long as it feels close enough to Sanwa parts that it's not jarring when I use it. Time to peel off the plastic. Feast your eyes on these Razer mechanical switch buttons. They feel exactly the same as Sanwa buttons. I really don't know what the big deal is. Maybe it was a licensing thing. Maybe they can afford to make more profit if they make their own buttons. But it feels exactly the same as Sanwa buttons so far. I can't wait to actually test it in-game. Now, some more important stuff. We've got the all-important PS Home button, the all-important actual, I think this is an actual touchpad. You've got the L buttons and the R buttons, which I've never really liked. They're the same as the previous Panthera as well. They're kind of soft and not that clicky. Plus, you've got the lock switch so that you don't accidentally, in the middle of a tournament, switch the whole game off, which has happened to professionals. So actually, this is a really important switch to be able to switch those off. There are no analog sticks on this, obviously. So if you want to control the left analog, right analog sticks for whatever, you know, settings purposes, you just use this, you switch this over here to left analog stick, right analog stick, but most of the time it'll just be here in the middle for digital mode. And this is a really funky, interesting feature. It's got this volume icon and this mute switch here. If you're using the headphone jack on this arcade stick, you can actually mute it by pressing this little convenient button here. I mean, having a volume switch and a mute switch really feels like Razer is considering the fact that people mostly play this stuff at home, online, and a lot of them are probably streaming. We've got the options and share buttons there in the same place as before. And the moment I know you've all been waiting for, it's time to find out what it feels like all over the bottom. Now this is kind of interesting because instead of giving you two pads here on the right and the left so that it will like sit nicely on your legs, they've actually put it with two strips along the top and bottom, all over the bottom. It's like a non-slip pad, and I guess they're considering the fact that now that they've finally made a stick which is this slim, you can kind of play at a more comfortable position. Most of the time, I don't play on my desk because the whole stick ends up a little bit too high. Now, as expected, it doesn't look like you can open the stick easily. There are no buttons that just help you open it really easily, but I'm sure that you can open it by taking the whole top off. Now this is the headphone jack. I assume this is one of those special headphone jacks that allows you to use a headset with a mic built in with only one cable. In fact, if you look carefully, you can see that's actually an icon of a headset. It's not just headphones. So that's definitely got the microphone and headphones built into the single plug. All right, it's time to plug it into the computer now. I'm going to pull open this flap here, get the cable out, which has, I just love that it's got plenty of room for the cable. You don't have to squash it in there. You actually fold this out into here. I think this is quite a cool design. It just really bugs me that you have to like squash it closed. Yeah, something like that. So I'm just setting up this controller now. Very excited about this. I love that there's this menacing little red light here. I can put it blue as well. Now currently, as you can see, I am plugged into the headphone jack with my headphones here. So I'm listening to audio from the Steam edition of Street Fighter V through my cheap Apple headphones. Oh yeah, I'm high quality. I mean, the stick feels exactly the same to normal. Now, strangely enough, now that it's actually on my lap, I can't actually feel any difference in terms of thickness. I thought it would feel dramatically lower, but I guess something like this to this on the previous Panthera to this on the new Panthera, it really doesn't feel that different. So what we really want to know is, do these buttons feel more responsive than standard Sanwa Denshi buttons? Because I doubt that it's going to feel any different. It feels exactly the same to me. It doesn't feel any different at all. Look, give me a few seconds. You know, maybe it does feel a little bit springier. I mean, it's almost like the spring is a little stronger, so instead of feeling as light and floaty as Sanwa buttons, I feel a bit more of the tension in the spring on these mechanical switches. It might just be placebo effect because I know that it's supposed to be different. Obviously the stick feels exactly like a standard Sanwa stick. If you've used a Razer Panthera before, you should feel right at home with this. Does feel responsive though. You know what? It feels really nice. It feels really nice. It doesn't feel like an expensive metal-cased aficionado arcade stick. It feels like this is a sort of thing that you can rely on and also looks good. Whereas the previous Panthera, it was something that you could rely on, but it didn't look especially amazing. But I think this looks absolutely sick. Now actually, this volume button's interesting. You can press it multiple times to change the volume, up from like 1, 2, 3, or 4, or maybe it's 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, or off. You can also press the button and then press up and down on the arcade stick. And that will make it louder, softer, softer, louder, softer. Now that I've used it for a few minutes, these buttons do feel a little springier. They really do feel a little springier. Sanwa buttons may feel a little bit fluffier. It depends what you're used to. Now you may find that a lot of players don't sit with it perfectly flat on their laps, they have it kind of resting forward a bit like this. And in those cases, you need to have this. That's when this part becomes particularly important, because when it's resting like this will start to dig more and more into your arm. Obviously, if you're sitting completely flat, it's no problem, but if you have it like this will start to dig into your arm, and that's why on this, I love how it's got this nice, gradual flow. I haven't even noticed, even if I roll my sleeves up like so, it just feels really, really comfortable, because that is where your wrists are going to bend anyway. Feels very natural. It really does feel springier. That is crazy. Not what I was expecting at all. Alright, that's pretty much it for the unboxing of the Razer Panthera EVO. One thing I would like to do is be able to take this off. Right now I can't test it just because I don't have a screwdriver that actually fits into this hole right now, but once I get one, I'll make a separate video where I actually pull this off and have a look on the inside of the stick, because I really, really want to do like a special custom artwork for the Razer Panthera EVO, which I'll then put underneath this plexiglass here. You know, being able to wind up the cable with this cable management, I'm really glad that Razer is considering people's actual use cases constantly. It folds in there nice and cleanly. These buttons do feel great, but they will take a bit of getting used to. Right now, I'm kind of like, whoa, this feels kind of weird. And I know that sounds like an excuse, and it kind of is an excuse, but I like them. I think I wouldn't mind getting used to these buttons. It's just that if you get used to these buttons and you have multiple sticks, the question is, can you buy these buttons separately and put them in all your other sticks? Right now, I'm imagining that the only way to use these Razer mechanical switches is to buy another one of these sticks. So, since I have multiple sticks at different setups, and I'll be using like Sanwa's over there, and I'll be using my Panthera over here, I don't like the idea of switching back and forth between buttons, so probably what I'll do is I'll probably switch these out for just standard Sanwa buttons, but that's not that I don't like these, it's just that in my use case, I'm always switching back and forth between sticks, and I find that any elements of like inconsistency throw me off, in addition to the fact that I'm already so inconsistent. Nice to have a headphone jack. I love that there's the volume control here on the top. I think that's great. Anyway, I've only just unboxed it, but first impressions are excellent. I'm really, really happy with how this feels. It just feels like a very thoughtful stick when considering how it will actually be used. So instead of thinking like, oh, some people are really enthusiastic about buying arcade sticks, it feels like this is just designed for people who want a stick that isn't going to have weird, annoying things like always having to unscrew the cable after every match and then walking around with that cable kind of loose, or just the fact that it's slim so it's just nice and sits on your lap more comfortably. Anyway, that's all I have to say about the Razer Panthera EVO. I think it's an awesome stick. There are definitely some trade-offs, so do consider carefully which one is going to work for you, because the Panthera, I think, is still going to be on sale. They're going to be selling them side by side. I don't actually know that for sure. But if you need a stick that can open up quickly so that you can maintain the buttons and you don't need to get a screwdriver out and pull the bottom off it all over the bottom, then, you know, it may actually be that the Razer Panthera actually works out better for you. But I think for most people, this is actually going to be the more convenient stick to walk around with. Anyway, tell me what you guys think in the comments of the new Razer Panthera EVO. Is this like a downgrade for some of you? Are some of you thinking about the original Panthera and the fact that it opens up and that the fact that the cable can actually be replaced? Obviously, you can't actually buy the cable separately because Razer doesn't sell them, but in theory, you could get a separate cable and plug it back in. How do you feel about stuff like that? Personally, I don't really mind not being able to open it up like a DeLorean. I'll probably have to unscrew it at least once just so I can take these buttons off or put some new artwork in it. So it's not going to be ultra convenient in that way. But I think on a day-to-day basis, this is just going to be a more convenient stick to walk around with, bring places, and just use. So don't forget to comment, subscribe, share the links and all that great stuff, and I'll see you in the next NihongoGamer video.